語聞き流し10分間、名作リスニング、英語テキストと MP3 ダウンロード、その他の物語は、ホームページよりご利用いただけます。88thpp.com 88thpp.com
The Blue Bird. Chapter 1. The Woodcutter's Cottage. Once upon a time, a woodcutter and his wife lived in their cottage on the edge of a large and ancient forest. They had 2 dear little children who met with a most wonderful adventure. But, before telling you all about it, I must describe the children to you and let you know something of their character, for, if they had not been so sweet and brave and plucky, the curious story which you are about to hear would never have happened at all. Tyltyl, that was our hero's name, was 10 years old, and Mytyl, his little sister, was only 6. Tyltyl was a fine, tall little fellow, stout and well set up, with curly black hair which was often in a tangle, for he was fond of a romp. He was a great favorite because of his smiling and good-tempered face and the bright look in his eyes, but, best of all, he had the ways of a bold and fearless little man, which showed the noble qualities of his heart. When, early in the morning, he trotted along the forest road by the side of his daddy, till the woodcutter, for all his shabby clothes he looked so proud and gallant that every beautiful thing on the earth and in the sky seemed to lie in wait for him to smile upon him as he passed. His little sister was very different, but looked ever so sweet and pretty in her long frock, which Mummy-Tyl kept neatly patched for her. She was as fair as her brother was dark, and her large timid eyes were blue as the forget-me-nots in the fields. Anything was enough to frighten her and she would cry at the least thing. But her little child soul already held the highest womanly qualities. She was loving and gentle and so fondly devoted to her brother that, rather than abandon him, she did not hesitate to undertake a long and dangerous journey in his company. What happened and how our little hero and heroine went off into the world one night in search of happiness, that is the subject of my story. Daddy Tyl's cottage was the poorest of the countryside, and it seemed even more wretched because it stood opposite a splendid hall in which rich children lived. From the windows of the cottage you could see what went on inside the hall when the dining room and drawing rooms were lit up in the evening. And, in the daytime, you saw the little children playing on the terraces, in the gardens and in the hothouses which people came all the way from town to visit because they were always filled with the rarest flowers. Now, one evening which was not like other evenings, for it was Christmas Eve, Mummy-Tyl put her little ones to bed and kissed them even more lovingly than usual. She felt a little sad because, owing to the stormy weather, Daddy Tyl was not able to go to work in the forest, and so she had no money to buy presents with which to fill Tyltyl and Mytyl's stockings. The children soon fell asleep, everything was still and silent and not a sound was heard but the purring of the cat, the snoring of the dog and the ticking of the great-grandfather's clock. But suddenly a light as bright as day crept through the shutters, the lamp upon the table lit again of itself and the 2 children awoke, yawned, rubbed their eyes, stretched out their arms in bed and Tyltyl in a cautious voice called. Mytyl? Yes, Tyltyl? Was the answer. Are you asleep? Are you? No, said Tyltyl. How can I be asleep when I'm talking to you? I say, is this Christmas Day? Asked his sister. Not yet, not till tomorrow. But Father Christmas won't bring us anything this year. Why not? I heard Mummy say that she couldn't go to town to tell him. But he will come next year. Is next year far off? A good long while, said the boy. But he will come to the rich children tonight. Really? Hello, cried Tyltyl of a sudden. Mummy's forgotten to put out the lamp. I've an idea. What? Let's get up. But we mustn't, said Mytyl, who always remembered. Why, there's no one about. Do you see the shutters? Oh, how bright they are. It's the lights of the party, said Tyltyl. What party? The rich children opposite. It's the Christmas tree. Let's open the shutters. Can we? Asked Mytyl, timidly. Of course we can, there's no one to stop us. Do you hear the music? Let us get up. The 2 children jumped out of bed, ran to the window, climbed on the stool in front of it and threw back the shutters. A bright light filled the room, and the children looked out eagerly. We can see everything, said Tyltyl. I can't, said poor little Mytyl, who could hardly find room on the stool. It's snowing, said Tyltyl. There are 2 carriages, with 6 horses each. There are 12 little boys getting out, said Myrtle, who was doing her best to peep out of the window. Don't be silly. They're little girls. They've got knickerbockers on. Do be quiet. And look. What are those gold things there, hanging from the branches? Why, toys, to be sure, said Towel. Swords, guns, soldiers, cannons. And what's that, all round the table? Cakes and fruit and cream tarts. Oh, how pretty the children are, cried Myrtle, clapping her hands. And how they're laughing and laughing, answered Towel. And the little ones dancing. Yes, yes, let's dance too, shouted Towel. And the two children began to stamp their feet for joy on the stool. Oh, what fun, said Myrtle. They're getting the cakes, cried Towel. They can touch them. They're eating, they're eating, they're eating. Oh, how lovely, how lovely. Myrtle began to count imaginary cakes. I have 12. And I 4 times 12, said Towel. But I'll give you some. And our little friends, dancing, laughing and shrieking with delight, rejoiced so prettily in the other children's happiness that they forgot their own poverty and want. They were soon to have their reward. Suddenly, there came a loud knocking at the door. The startled children ceased their romp and dared not move a limb. Then the big wooden latch lifted of itself, with a loud creak, the door opened slowly, and in crept a little old woman, dressed all in green, with a red hood over her head. She was humpbacked and lame and had only one eye, her nose and chin almost touched, and she walked leaning on a stick. She was surely a fairy.
英語聞き流し10分間、名作リスニング。英語テキストと MP3 ダウンロード、その他の物語は、ホームページよりご利用いただけます。88thpp.com 88thpp.com